I smiled as I watched my husband kiss another woman at our anniversary party. Not because I was okay with it, but because I knew something he didn't. I had divorce papers in my purse and 50 witnesses to his betrayal. Hi, I'm Sarah. And this is the story of how I discovered my husband's affair, planned the perfect revenge, and served him divorce papers with a smile on my face. If you're new here, welcome to the channel where we talk about real stories of betrayal, revenge, and taking back your power. Buckle up. This one's wild. But to understand why I was smiling that night, you need to hear what happened 3 months earlier. Because trust me, the journey from heartbroken wife to that moment of pure satisfaction, it wasn't easy. Let me take you back to a Tuesday afternoon in October. A day that started like any other, and ended with my entire world crashing down. I had been married to David for 7 years. 7 years of what I genuinely believed was a good marriage. We had our arguments, sure. What couple doesn't? But I trusted him. I trusted him with my whole heart. And that, as I would soon discover, was my biggest mistake. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere. I just didn't want to see them. It started small. The way he'd tilt his phone away from me when he was texting. How he suddenly became obsessed with the gym after years of me begging him to work out. The new cologne that smelled nothing like the Old Spice he'd worn since college. The late nights at the office that became 3, then 4 times a week. But you know what the worst part was? Every time I questioned him, he made me feel crazy. "Sarah, you're being paranoid," he'd say, with this condescending little smile that made my stomach turn. "Don't you trust me? After 7 years, you really think I'd do that to you?" And like an idiot, I'd apologize. I'd make his favorite lasagna and tell myself I was being insecure. That I needed to work on my trust issues. That I was the problem. If you've ever been gaslighted, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Drop a comment if you've been there, because honestly, knowing I'm not alone in this helps more than you'd think. So there I was, pushing down my instincts, playing the perfect wife, pretending everything was fine. Until that Tuesday afternoon when everything came crashing down. David had left his laptop open on the kitchen counter. He was in the shower, singing off-key like he always did, completely oblivious. I walked by to close it, just being helpful, you know. But then I saw it. A message notification. From someone named Marcus. Now, David didn't have any close friends named Marcus. And something about that name felt off. My hand hovered over the laptop. I knew I shouldn't look. Invasion of privacy, right? But that voice in my gut, the one I'd been silencing for months, was screaming at me. I clicked. And in that moment, I made a choice that would change everything. A choice between ignorance and truth. Between being a fool and being free. What I found made my blood run cold. Marcus wasn't a man. Marcus was the name he'd saved her under. And her was Jessica from accounting. The same Jessica who'd asked to borrow my lipstick at the Christmas party. The same Jessica who'd complimented my engagement ring and asked about our honeymoon. She'd smiled at me, hugged me, and shook my hand while sleeping with my husband. The messages went back 8 months. 8 months. There were hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. I scrolled and scrolled, and with each message, I felt like I was being stabbed in the chest over and over again. The pet names. The inside jokes. The plans they were making. The photos they'd send each other. And the absolute worst part. He'd told her he loved her. Multiple times. The same 3 words he'd stopped saying to me about a year ago. The same 3 words I'd been desperately wanting to hear again. I sat there on our kitchen floor, laptop in my lap, and I couldn't breathe. You know that feeling when your chest gets so tight you think you might actually die? Like your heart is physically breaking inside your ribcage? That's where I was. I cried. God, I cried so hard I thought I might throw up. The tile floor was cold against my legs, and I could hear the shower still running upstairs, and I just kept thinking, how did I not know? How could I have been so blind? But here's where my story takes a turn. Because after 2 hours of crying on that floor, something inside me shifted. I looked at myself in the hallway mirror. My eyes were swollen. My face was blotchy and red. Mascara streaked down my cheeks. I looked broken. And suddenly, I was angry. Not the screaming, throwing things kind of angry. The cold, calculated kind. The dangerous kind. I wiped my face, closed the laptop, and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Instead, I was going to do something better. I called my best friend Rachel. She picked up on the first ring, and I'll never forget what I said to her. I need the number of the best divorce lawyer you know. And Rachel? David can't know about this. Not yet. If you're enjoying this already, hit that subscribe button because trust me, this story is just getting started. Over the next 6 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. On the surface, same Sarah. Smiling at breakfast. Asking about his day. But underneath? I was building an airtight case. I took screenshots of every message. All 327 of them. I even created a spreadsheet organized by date, location, and how explicit they were. My lawyer loved it. I documented every late night with timestamps. Every lie with receipts. I opened a separate bank account at a different bank and started quietly moving money. Not all of it, just enough to protect myself. I met with Catherine, my lawyer, twice a week at that expensive Pilates studio on 5th Street. He even paid for my membership to make the lie believable. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Document everything, Catherine told me during our first meeting. And whatever you do, don't tip him off. The element of surprise is your biggest weapon. So I didn't. I played the oblivious wife perfectly. David was so confident I'd never figure it out that he barely tried to hide it anymore. He texted her in front of me. Came home smelling like her perfume. Even took a business trip that was really a romantic getaway to some bed and breakfast upstate. Every lie was another cut. But I smiled through them all. The hardest part? Pretending to enjoy his touch when all I could think about was washing off his lies. Because I had a plan. But then I found something else. Something that made Jessica look like just the tip of the iceberg. Buried in his email drafts, I found messages to 2 other women. 2. David wasn't just having an affair. He was running a whole operation. Jessica from accounting. Amanda from his gym. And some woman named Claire he'd met on a business conference in Denver. Jessica had no idea she wasn't the only one. None of them did. That's when my plan evolved. This wasn't just about divorce anymore. This was about making sure everyone knew exactly who David really was. Then, about 2 months into my secret preparations, David came home with an announcement. "Babe," he said, pulling me into a hug that made my skin crawl, "I've been thinking. Our anniversary is coming up next month. 7 years. That's a big deal. What if we threw a party? Nothing crazy, just friends and family. What do you think?" I almost laughed. The audacity. The absolute nerve of this man to want to celebrate our marriage while he was actively destroying it with 3 different women. But instead of saying any of that, I smiled. That smile. The one that would become my signature move. "That sounds wonderful, honey," I said. "Let's do it." What David didn't know was that I'd already filed for divorce. The papers were sitting in Catherine's office, ready to be finalized. And I had just decided exactly when and how I was going to serve them. Quick question, have you ever ignored red flags in a relationship? Drop a comment and let me know. I promise I'm reading every single one. The next 3 weeks were surreal. I planned an anniversary party for a marriage I knew was over. I sent invitations to everyone who mattered. His parents. His boss. Our friends. His co-workers. I picked decorations. Ordered a 3-tier cake. Hired a photographer. All while knowing exactly how the night would end. David thought I was the perfect wife. Supportive. Loving. Clueless. Little did he know, I'd already made the calls that would destroy everything. Catherine had the divorce papers ready. I'd arranged for a process server to attend the party, disguised as one of the catering staff. And I'd made one more call. To Jessica. Hi Jessica, this is Sarah, David's wife. I'm calling to personally invite you to our anniversary party next Saturday. David would love for you to be there. Silence. Long, uncomfortable silence. Then stammering about being busy, having plans, not wanting to intrude. Oh, I insist, I said sweetly, like I was inviting her to a book club. David talks about you all the time. It wouldn't be the same without you. I'll text you the address. She showed up. Because she thought I was genuinely clueless. The night of the party arrived. I wore white. A sleek white jumpsuit that made me feel powerful. Untouchable. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. But in a good way. I looked strong. I looked like a woman who knew exactly what she was doing. Guests arrived around 7. Friends, family, co-workers. Everyone we'd built our life around. They came to celebrate a love story about to have the most dramatic ending imaginable. David was in his element. Playing the perfect husband. Laughing, telling stories, shaking hands. He kept his arm around my waist, and every touch made me want to scream. But I smiled. I smiled so much my face hurt. And then she walked in. Jessica wore red. A tight, red dress that turned every head in the room. Her hair was in perfect waves. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like she was going to a nightclub, not a married couple's anniversary party. The disrespect was almost impressive. I watched David's face when he saw her. His eyes widened. For a split second, he looked panicked. But then he composed himself, squeezed my waist, and kissed my temple. I'll go say hi to some of the guys from work, he mumbled, already moving toward her. I watched them throughout the night. The stolen glances. The way they'd drift toward each other like magnets. How they thought they were being subtle, but everyone with eyes could see the chemistry between them. My sister noticed. Rachel noticed. Even David's mother kept giving me concerned looks. The music was playing, Can't Help Falling in Love, our wedding song. The irony wasn't lost on me. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. My hands were trembling. This was it. Everything I'd planned for weeks was about to happen. Around 9 o'clock, most people had a few drinks in them. The music was playing. People were dancing and laughing. It was the perfect party. The perfect trap. That's when it happened. I was talking to David's mother near the kitchen when I saw them on the patio through the glass doors. David and Jessica. They were standing close, too close, under the string lights I'd hung up myself. She was laughing at something he said, touching his arm. Her hand lingered on his chest. And then he looked around quickly, thinking no one was watching. And he kissed her. Not a peck. Not a friendly kiss. A real kiss. The kind of kiss that told everyone watching exactly what was going on between them. His hand on her waist. Her fingers in his hair. The patio went silent. Then the silence spread into the house like a wave. People stopped mid-conversation. Someone gasped. I heard my sister say, "Oh my God." Everyone turned to look at me. Waiting. Waiting to see if I'd seen it. Waiting to see how I'd react. Waiting for the tears, the screaming, the drama. And I smiled. Not a sad smile. Not a bitter smile. A genuine, from the bottom of my soul smile. Because in that moment, watching him destroy himself in front of everyone who mattered, I felt free. I felt powerful. I felt like I'd just won. I set down my champagne glass carefully on the counter. I smoothed down my white jumpsuit. I took a breath. This was it. And I walked out onto the patio. Every eye in that house was on me. You could have heard a pin drop. 50 people holding their breath, watching this moment unfold. David saw me coming and went pale. Actually pale. Like all the blood drained from his face in an instant. Jessica stepped back, her red lips forming a perfect O of shock. I guess she finally realized I wasn't as clueless as she thought. I walked right up to them. Still smiling. "David," I said clearly, my voice steady and strong. "I'm so glad you're both here together." He opened his mouth, probably to lie. Probably to gaslight me one more time. But I held up my hand. "Don't." I gestured to someone in the crowd. The man I'd hired as my process server stepped forward in his catering uniform. He was holding an envelope. "David Mitchell," he said officially, loudly enough for everyone to hear, "you've been served." He handed David the envelope. David's hands were shaking so badly he could barely open it. His face went from pale to green as his eyes scanned the first page. Divorce papers. Fully filed. Already processed by the court. The crowd erupted. People gasping, whispering, some even cheering. My sister was crying happy tears. David's mother had her hand over her mouth, looking between her son and me in absolute shock. His father's face was stone cold. I turned to Jessica, still smiling. "Congratulations. He's all yours now. Good luck with the lying." Then I leaned in closer, so only she could hear. "Oh, and by the way, you're not the only one. Ask him about Amanda from the gym. And Claire from Denver." Her face went from shocked to horrified. She looked at David, then back at me, then at the papers in his shaking hands. If you can't wait to hear what happened next, smash that like button. You won't regret it. Jessica grabbed her purse and practically ran out of there. Didn't even say goodbye. Just fled like the coward she was, her heels clicking frantically on the pavement. David tried to follow her, but I caught his arm. "Don't embarrass yourself more than you already have," I said quietly, but firm. "She's gone. Just like your marriage. Just like any respect anyone here had for you." He looked around at all the judging faces. His co-workers. His parents. Our friends. All watching him. All knowing exactly what kind of man he was. "Sarah," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Can we talk? Please. Not here. Not like this." I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times. In my head, I'd screamed at him. Thrown things. Made him feel every ounce of pain he'd caused me. But standing there, looking at this pathetic man I'd wasted 7 years of my life loving, I just felt empty. Tired. And ready to move on. "There's nothing to talk about, David. It's done. You made your choices. 8 months with Jessica. 6 months with Amanda. 4 months with Claire. Now I'm making mine." His jaw dropped. He didn't know I knew about the others. I addressed the crowd, every single person watching this unfold like it was the season finale of their favorite show. "Thank you all for coming tonight. I know this isn't how anyone expected the evening to go. But I want you to know that I'm okay. Actually, I'm better than okay. I'm free." My voice cracked just slightly on that last word. Because as strong as I was trying to be, I was still human. This still hurt. Loving someone who betrayed you doesn't just switch off like a light. Rachel pushed through the crowd and wrapped her arms around me. You're the strongest person I know. That's when I finally let myself cry. Not sobs. Just quiet tears rolling down my face while I stood there, surrounded by people who loved me, watching my husband realize he'd lost everything. David's father walked up to him and said something I'll never forget. His voice was cold. Disappointed. You're a disgrace to this family. Your mother and I didn't raise you to be this kind of man. Then he turned to me, his eyes full of genuine sorrow. Sarah, I'm so sorry. You deserved so much better than this. David just stood there, divorce papers still clutched in his hands, watching his entire life implode. His wife. His dignity. His parents' respect. All gone in one night. The party cleared out pretty quickly after that. People hugged me, told me I was brave, told me I was inspiring. They shot dirty looks at David as they left. Within an hour, it was just me, Rachel, and my sister left in that house, taking down decorations from a celebration that never happened. But here's what you need to understand. That moment, as satisfying as it was, wasn't where my healing began. The real work started in the weeks and months that followed. The next morning, I woke up in my sister's guest room. David had called 17 times. Texted 43 messages. Long paragraphs begging for another chance. Blaming his stress and his depression and everything except his own choices. I blocked his number and let Catherine handle everything. She was ruthless. She used every piece of evidence I'd gathered. The texts. The emails. The credit card statements showing hotel rooms and expensive dinners at places he'd never taken me. The romantic getaways. All of it. My spreadsheet became Exhibit A. David tried arguing that I'd violated his privacy by looking at his laptop. Can you believe that? 3 affairs, but I was the bad guy for finding out. Catherine shut that down immediately. Your client left his laptop unlocked in a shared marital home. He has no reasonable expectation of privacy. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. I got the house. Half his retirement account. And my dignity back. About 2 weeks after the party, I ran into David's mother at the grocery store. I tried to avoid her, but she called my name. I turned around, expecting awkwardness or maybe even blame. Instead, she hugged me tight. I'm so proud of you, she said, tears in her eyes. I always loved you like a daughter. That hasn't changed. What my son did, that's on him, not you. You did the right thing. She told me David had moved in with Jessica about a week after the party. Apparently, once she was his only option and she knew about the others, the thrill wore off fast. They fought constantly. She didn't trust him. He resented her for not understanding. All the passion that seemed so exciting in secret messages turned toxic in real life. 3 months later, they broke up. Messy. Loud. Apparently she found messages from yet another woman on his phone. History repeating itself. Once a cheater, always a cheater, right? Okay, be honest. Did you see any of that coming? Comment served if you think he got exactly what he deserved. Let me tell you where I am now. I'm sitting in my new apartment. Smaller than the house, but it's mine. Every piece of furniture. Every picture on the wall. Every plant in the window. I chose all of it. For me. Not for us. I started therapy. Turns out, 7 years of gaslighting does a number on your self-esteem. My therapist helped me understand that what happened wasn't about me not being enough. It was about David being fundamentally incapable of honesty and faithfulness. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with. Got promoted at work. Started dating again, nothing serious yet, but I went on a few dates and realized there are actually good men out there. Men who text back. Men who show up. Men who don't make you question your sanity. I'm not going to lie and say everything's perfect. Some nights I still cry, mourning the time I lost. The version of myself who believed in happily ever after. But most nights, I sleep better than I have in years. Because I'm not lying next to someone I can't trust. I'm not wondering where he really is or who he's really with. I'm just at peace. And that smile, I still wear it every single day. You know what's funny? I still have that white jumpsuit. Sometimes I wear it when I need to remember what it feels like to take back your power. It reminds me that I survived. That I chose myself. That I refused to be a victim in my own life story. David tried reaching out a few months ago. Sent me a long email about how he'd made mistakes and was going through something and wanted to try again. I read it once. Then I deleted it. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed. Here's what I learned, and I want you to really hear this: trust your gut. Always. That voice inside you that says something's wrong. It's usually right. Don't let anyone make you doubt your own instincts or convince you that your feelings are invalid. If someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Have enough respect for yourself to walk away from anyone who doesn't treat you with the love and honesty you deserve. Was my revenge petty? Maybe. But do I regret it? Not for a single second. That night, I took back my power. I refused to be the woman crying in the corner while everyone pitied me. I made sure everyone knew exactly what kind of man he was. And it felt good. Really, really good. If you're going through something similar right now, if you're noticing signs you don't want to notice, I want you to know, you're stronger than you think. You deserve better. And one day, you'll look back and realize this was the beginning of your freedom, not the end of your happiness. Now I need your help. I'm racing to hit 1,000 subscribers before March. If this story gave you that satisfying feeling of justice served, do 3 things right now. 1. Subscribe. 2 seconds, huge impact. 2. Like this video so YouTube shows it to more people who need to hear this. 3. Comment, served, if you think he got exactly what he deserved. Share this with anyone who's settling for less than they deserve. Sometimes we all need a reminder that we're worth more. I've got more stories coming, stories of betrayal and triumph, of people who refused to be victims and took back their lives. Let's build this community together. Let's hit 1,000 before March. I know we can do it. Remember, you are stronger than your circumstances. You are worthy of honesty and respect. And you deserve someone who chooses you, every single day, without hesitation. Keep smiling. And let's hit that 1,000 together. This is Sarah, signing off.